I'm Angela Haythorpe, and I lead the San Jose, California location of Youth with a Mission, also known as YWAM. YWAM is a global missions movement that began in 1960 with the vision to see young people released into the Great Commission. The overall mission being to know God and make Him known. This came from the command that Jesus gave His disciples when His very first words to them were, "Come and follow me," and His very last words to them were, "Go and preach the good news to all creation." So in YWAM, one of the ways we do this is we have a 6-month program called the Discipleship Training School, also known as the DTS. The first half we spend learning more about God through subjects like hearing the voice of God, biblical worldview, and Father Heart of God. During the second half, we go on a field assignment, which we call outreach, where we engage locally across the San Francisco Bay Area and go on a cross-cultural overseas experience. In both placements, the students are exercising their growing faith muscles as they step out of their comfort zones, and they encourage and empower ministries that are on the ground and get to share about the love of Jesus not only in word but in action. So here's a recent story from a student.
Just before Christmas, our team went out to help a church in Redwood City. And I'd been drinking a lot of coffee and I wanted some gum. So I asked my wife Jenna if she wanted to go down to the corner store really quick before we left to get some gum. So we walk in the store and see that the lady behind the counter had a neck brace on, and we looked at each other and nodded, and we both had the same impression that God might be wanting to heal that lady's neck. So I put the gum on the counter and paid for it, and as she was ringing it up, I asked her what her name was and what had happened to her neck. She said her name was Yolanda and that she had been in an accident and she had broken her neck. And so I asked if I could pray for her neck, and she smiled and said yes. And so I prayed for her neck and told all the pain to leave in Jesus' name. And then I asked her to try it out and see if it worked. And she started moving her head around from side to side and looking both ways. And she smiled and said that the pain was gone. A few days later, I went back to the store to check on her. And she was working behind the counter again, and she didn't have a neck brace on. And it was just so amazing to see what God had done and that He really did heal her neck. I know it's tough sometimes for me to step out and to do things like that because in the moment there's two options that pop into my mind. I can either step out and be confident that God's going to do something and trust Him, or I can be afraid and turn a blind eye to what I see. But I have to be bold and confident and step out and take the risk. He is always worth the risk.